press. Newspapers like the East End News popularised the personalities, analysed the games, and encouraged local loyalties and local involvement. But alongside reports for supporters, there have been reports about them.
The reverse raised the crowd's feelings, and cries of "Buck up Millwall" rent the air.
Things began to look ugly at the conclusion of the match. Not only was the referee baited, but a large stone was thrown at him, which struck a lad on the hand.
This is not the first time this season that the referee has met with a discordant reception at Millwall.
Missile throwing and other notes of discord, including foul language, pitch invasions, demonstrations against officials, are all recorded from the early years. Right up to the Second World War, behaviour which would now be severely punished was an expected part of crowd exuberance.
2-3 when Foxall nets. That's right, there's no time to waste. Foxall agrees and promptly repeats the dose. Beating both Ward and Watley, he drives home a beauty which leaves Hooper helpless. Assistance is again at hand, but it's all got to be played again. Result, 3-all.
But even so, Millwall had a poor record. The club was punished by the Football Association on no less than 6 occasions between 1927 and 1949. A game against Bradford in March 1934 was described by Ted Houghton, writing for the Sunday Pictorial. He told how, after the game,
a crowd of nearly 4,000 strong assembled. There were shouts and catcalls, and the crowd began to chant, "We want the referee."
The News of the World had only a small report, but it spoke of exciting scenes and free fights between players on the pitch. Afterwards,
the crowd refused to leave the ground, demonstrating against the directors in the stand. Mud was flung at the windows.
But in court the following Monday, the authorities were tolerant. The magistrate described it as a case of overexcitement. The local papers criticised the scare headlines in the national press. Nevertheless, the FA closed the ground for 2 weeks. In November 1938, the club was fined.
The New Cross crowd threw squibs, crackers and the rest as the players left the field.
There were some occasions when Millwall crowd got a bit obstropolous and let the referee know what they thought of them, and I can remember one match with Bradford City when Millwall won 6-1 where one of the players actually threw, one of the spectators actually threw a bottle at the goalkeeper. So it's not just football hooliganism today, it happened then on occasions.
Post-war, the pattern remained the same.
The morons of Millwall have done it again. The last Football League club to have its ground closed was the Lions. After an interval of 13 years, the chopper has fallen again.
As so often before and since, the local reporter, closer to the actual events, had his reservations.
The South London press did not refer to the matter. That was precisely how important the event looked to me. Had I said anything at all, it would be that the FA should find more efficient referees.
2 years later, yet another referee became the target of fans' abuse and was assaulted by more than 100 supporters outside the ground. Again, the den was closed. But even the national press commented on the game rather than the incident. The football supporter was expected to be noisy and boisterous.
Apart from good football, a feature at the den is the Lions' Roar. These supporters rise at the crack of dawn on match days, have a gargle, and are so articulate that they ought to be allowed in the ground free of charge.
There were 42,000 fans at the Den when 3rd Division Millwall played host to their West London neighbours Fulham, while as usual the small boys were passed down to the front before they passed out. And when Millwall appeared, even the Old Kent Road rocked with the cheers of their supporters.
All over the country, football saw huge crowds in its golden era of the post-war years. Crowds that seemed more orderly than pre-war.
Kicked off for Fulham, who straight away went into the attack to avenge that 1937 defeat by the Lions, who then reached the semi-final. Cheer up, Missy. There's no score yet. Millwall forced a corner and certainly gave that Fulham defence some anxious moments. But Fulham scored first. Macaulay centred, and left winger Campbell made no mistake. Then Millwall, a goal down, just swarmed into the attack. Fulham were content to scramble the ball away. The dangerous home forwards are supposed to prefer hard grounds. No wonder the Fulham fans spent the whole week hoping for rain. The second half, and still it's Fulham 1-up. They say the vocal support of the Den is worth a go to the Lions, but though there was plenty of this, Millwall just couldn't confirm this report.
But although it remained a mass spectator sport, by the mid-50s, those crowds began both to decline and to change. Many men with secure jobs in the booming economy were finding that the car and the home offered a more comfortable way of spending the weekend. By the time ITV came along in 1955, 2/3 of all households owned a television set. But the Football League was reluctant to allow matches to be screened. They believed that the publicity and the fees it would bring would not compensate for the loss of spectators. Nonetheless, television was to become the main way in which people watched football. Partly in response to this new media exposure, the game was becoming more international and more commercial. It tried to move up market and aimed to be more of an entertainment. Supporting traditions, which have always involved crowd disorder, were thrown into sharper focus. Now the younger groups began to stake out territory they saw as their own. By the early 60s, the tradition of the Ends was established, with their songs, chants and rituals. And they caught the ready eye of the press. By the 1960s, the popular press was becoming more competitive, more graphic, more determined to pursue stories which would instantly grab the attention. Now, the relative prosperity spreading to the working classes included working-class youth. The newspapers reported the spectacle of these young men and women, with their expensive clothes, their musical crazes, and their free time, with a mixture of horror and fascination. A demonology of youth was built up. Teds, mods and rockers, and, of course, football hooligans. A dummy hand grenade thrown into the goalmouth at a Millwall match was just one of a series of incidents eagerly reported.
Oh, what a sad Saturday afternoon. It was another raw, ugly, painful and sad day for league soccer,
Lamented Sam Leach of the Sunday Mirror, while the newly launched Sun led the way in scare headlines. Press overreaction was now making it increasingly difficult to assess reported events.
Flying fists and bottles marked the end of Millwall's unbeaten league run at the Den.
Plymouth fled the Den last night with a smashed motor coach and shaken players.
With the incident after the Plymouth match in 1967, a press vocabulary was being established, which labelled all football supporters as subhuman, crazed and thuggish. The club itself had already identified its younger supporters as troublemakers and had punished them by intermittently raising the entrance fee and threatening to ban them altogether. Now there were regular, stern warnings in match programmes.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen and boys. The irresponsible acts of hooliganism by a bunch of youngsters continue to be a matter of grave concern to us.
Please don't let your enthusiasm make you do such ridiculous things as running onto the pitch.
These hooligans must be stopped.
Millwall was forced to act after a highly disputed incident in which referee Norman Burtonshaw claimed to have been struck by Millwall supporters. Similar incidents had happened in the past, but the mood of the times was different. In November '67, the first cages went up at the Den.
Wouldn't you like to be able to play golf the way you see it being played by world-famous golfers? Well, here's how you can improve your golf. Published in weekly parts, it tells you how to choose equipment, how to improve your technique with lots of helpful tips from professionals, how to play the most famous courses, even how to get out of a tight corner. It's all here, everything you want to know to help you improve your golf.
If you need a holiday, but you're tired of the usual packages, try something very, very different. Read the guide to special interest holidays, starting this week's New Look Observer magazine.
Worth waiting for.
According to the rule book, a car with a reputation for safety can't be exciting. The new Volvo 440, the car that changes the rules. The stereo will be great.
With my new Toshiba,
But you'll just have to wait.
for my new Toshiba,
I can stereo.
coming to Toshiba.
Digital, don't you know?
You don't want hisses and fuzzy buzzes crawling up your ears.
Every note you hear
On my new Toshiba,
will sound jolly clear.
on my new Toshiba.
That's it, we won the bet.
I think he's eaten the entire menu. I think he's done it.
Hold on. Okay, you had the chicken, right?
It's right there.
You had the chili cheeseburger, right? Pepsi? What about this other Coke?
He doesn't drink any other Coke.
The bet's off.
Tony, we said the bet was everything on the entire menu.
Stanley, you're not going to really make him think that, are you?
All right, it's on the house. Get out of here. You guys kill me, man. You kill me.
Wouldn't you like to make something special for your home? Add an individual touch to your children's clothes, or create a gift to treasure and remember. It's easy with Embroidery Magic, a new fortnightly pack with everything you'll need. There are 6 inspiring ideas with clear step-by-step instructions and reusable transfer patterns, plus a file of all the stitches and skills you'll ever need. With Pack 1, there's a free basics booklet, so whether you're a beginner or a dab hand, you'll make your own Embroidery Magic.
Millwall Football Club is in an area of London which came off badly in the post-war changes. Traditional industries, in particular the docks, were closed down or relocated. Better-off families moved to the home-owning suburbs. Others were forced to move as the 19th century neighbourhood was transformed by tower blocks. The old community was fractured and scattered. Around the same time, the area was absorbing and reacting to a new group of immigrants, mainly black people from the West Indies. But although the population was radically changing, the vast majority of active Millwall supporters remained white, working-class young men, including many who had moved away from the area, but travelled back to the Den for matches. For some of these supporters, the visible changes appeared to be squeezing out the way of life they celebrated. For them, loyalty to the club and pride in the community often led to contempt towards outsiders. As in many clubs, racism became open, and racist chants became part of the experience of watching football. At Millwall, the reputation and the intensity of the abuse has meant that black supporters have never been attracted in any numbers. All outsiders came to be seen as legitimate targets for verbal abuse and ridicule. Little was done by the club or football authorities to challenge this behaviour.
Immediately after the war, people who'd been bombed out or moved away from Lewisham into Newtown development and places like that, and a lot of other people came who had moved into the area and basically had not got the association with Millwall that they had. In addition to that, certainly in part of the time, a part of an hooligan element developed around Millwall, and as a result of that, people who were normal supporters actually stopped themselves coming to football.
It changed as society changed. You know, people seemed to have a little bit more money in their pocket. Younger people were travelling on their own and didn't come as a family anymore. And they used to converge in groups more. You know, you'd get behind both goals, you'd get your 300 or 400 or 500 youngsters. But they just had no leadership from the older generation that's been passed down like we had, you know.
Millwall is more than a football club, it's a way of life. It offers
As part of the flurry of media concern and fascination, a panorama programme of 1977 attempted to explore the phenomenon of hooliganism by focusing on Millwall.
We're always in the sort of second and third, like, but we're like people are frightened of us all over England.
Got supporters, best supporters in the land. They go anywhere. Anyone comes down here, they get slung out, I'll tell you that now.
All we're going for is a good game of football, a good punch-up and a good piss-up. That's all about Millwall.
It was an attempt to go beyond the crudities of the popular press, but part of its effect was to reinforce the stereotypes.
Like any other set of supporters, they cheer on their team, question the referee's parentage, exchange pleasantries with the police, whom they call the Old Bill.